And so there was a new Zen student. And the student went to his teacher. And he said, "Master, what is the most important lesson that I am to learn?" And the master closed his eyes and paused and said, "Good judgment." And the student was so thrilled to have an answer. And he said, "Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, teacher. Thank you, master." And then he said, "Oh, one more thing, master. How do I attain good judgment?" And again, the master closed his eyes. He paused. And he said, "Bad judgment." It is true. We learn more from the things that we think are wrong or the errors that we made, at least in our mind they were errors, the failures. Successes are sometimes just luck. And when it works, we don't stand back and go, "Oh, how could I have succeeded better?" But when it fails, when something doesn't go quite the way we expected, it gives us the opportunity to really learn from the experience so we know how we might want to do things differently the next time or in the future. It's strange because as humans, we don't like failure. We think we're supposed to pick up a musical instrument and play it perfectly the first time. We shouldn't have to rehearse for hours and years. And if we don't do it well, if we can't do it well enough in our own mind, we don't want to do it at all, that sort of thing. And hopefully, most of us have matured past that, knowing that it's not the success that counts, it's the trying, it's the learning, it's the stretching our edges, which sometimes seem so rigid, to stretch our edges and to try new things. And that's what Unity of the Keys, that's what the Unity churches are all about. An opportunity to stretch our edges, to see if there might be something we could do differently. Well, I am truly excited to be starting this series today on the book Living Originally. I'm always excited when I pick up a new book because the books are just so rich with inspiration. And at the same time, I understand this isn't a book report. This is not an intellectual endeavor where I'm just regurgitating what I read. For it to be meaningful to me, in order for me to share it with you, I must dedicate the time and the patience and the faith. We talked about that just a few minutes ago. The faith that I will receive inspiration, that I'll be guided by Spirit as to what is the most important to share and how to relate it in such a way within me that I can share with you so that it can be relatable to you also. Well, this is, a gem of a book. It's called Living Originally, 10 Spiritual Practices to Transform Your Life. And it's written by Robert Brumet. Now, Robert Brumet, besides being an author, he has several books that he has written. He was early into the Buddhist teachings. He led Sanghas back in the 80s and was one of the founding members of a Dharma in the Kansas City area in the 90s. He also became a Unity minister over 40 years ago. And he was a senior minister at Unity churches, and he was a member of the professors at Unity Institute and Seminary, which is where our paths crossed. And Robert Brumet was one of my favorite professors. Us students would refer to him as the Dolly Robert. He is just such a precious, sweet man and so filled with wisdom and compassion and love, and you feel it in his presence. Now, our Carolyn Sullivan is completing a 2-year certification program in spiritual direction. And she was fortunate enough to have Robert Brumet as her mentor. Yes, so he is very near and dear to us. And Carolyn is graduating in June from this program. We are so proud of her. Absolutely, absolutely. So, along the lines of being willing to make mistakes. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of the Unity Movement, said that our life is our laboratory. That's an interesting way to look at our life, isn't it? As a laboratory. That we get to choose every minute of every day to do things differently. For the heck of it. Just to try something new. Pour a little something else in that little mixture called our life. And we do it in not so interesting ways sometimes. I'll drive a different road, go home a different way, go on a street I've never gone on. It delights me. And it actually is good for my brain and the synapses. And I know that's hard here in Key West because there's only so many streets. But still, I find myself going to places I didn't know were there. But our life is our laboratory. And Unity is called practical Christianity for a reason. Not only is it practical, it's practical in our day-to-day living, but it's also meant to be practiced. Practiced. Just as I set aside time to work on the lessons, you all set aside time to get ready, to come here to church. Even if you're online or you're going to watch us later, you set aside time to do that. Because we know that the real work happens when we leave the sanctuary or we stop watching online and engage in the world again. I call it, that's our love work. Our love work. To take the things that we hear and apply them, practice them in our lives to make our lives better, to make our lives happier, more productive, more meaningful in what we bring to the world. So it sounds like it's all about us. Well, it is all about us because it's all an inside job all the time, in all ways. It's always an inside job. But the more we do our love work on our inside job, the more we bless the people that are around us and our world at large. So Robert Brumet is taking us through 5 core practices that I will be sharing with you. The first one today is called radical self-awareness, and we'll be diving into that. Radical self-awareness. Then deep self-appreciation is next week. Unlimited forgiveness, universal benevolence, and compassionate communication. And as we listen to these lessons and take some of this love work and apply it, practice it, our lives will improve exponentially. Each will build upon the next. Maybe in small ways, but I hope in ways that we will all notice, that we will notice for ourselves. That's what we're diving into. And I'm excited. I hope you are too. So, living originally. What might that mean, living originally? Well, some of us might think, well, that means unique, something unique, one of a kind. It's an original. Might be a little quirky. Might be unconventional. Might even be unorthodox. I love that word, unorthodox. All it means is contrary to the normal and acceptable practices. But it sounds so important, doesn't it? Unorthodox, yes. That's not what living originally means in this book. Living originally means that to first understand, we've all been conditioned. We've been conditioned by our world. We've been imprinted with thoughts and beliefs from our culture, our society, our language, our family, geographically where we grew up, religiously possibly, things that have happened in our lifetime. We've been conditioned to an extent. So to live originally is to live from our origin being God, or universal love, or all that is, universal mind, whatever name you want to give to that. Living originally means living from the source of our goodness, the source of our wisdom, the source of our love. That's radical. That's unorthodox. Because to live like that is to not blame or shame or exclude or judge or condemn anyone. It's living from that space of love. Now that might sound impossible. But I think we know about someone who did that. He had dark hair, it might have been curly. They say he was a bachelor, we're not sure about that. He lived in the ancient Middle East. He prayed a lot. He hung around with fishermen. There was a tax collector in the mix. Women. He even broke bread with those people. That was radical. And his teachings were all about to love one another. To love one another. At a time in society, in their culture of oppression, that had to have seemed like the most unconventional thing in the world. But that was what Jesus taught. And that's why we look at his teachings, why we follow that example. To be that, to do that, to be how we are in the world. Because we're so drawn to those teachings. They mean something to us. They touch a place inside of us that's yearning to be awakened, that is yearning to be expressed. So radical self-awareness. In general, self-awareness means that I'm aware that I'm a separate entity from you. You're aware that you're a separate entity from the person sitting next to you. And this doesn't come naturally to us. We don't know this until we're about 6 or 9 months old. Before that, we think that our caregiver, our mom or our dad, or whoever's taking care of us is an extension of us. And when we realize around 6 to 9 months that that's not true, we panic. It's called separation anxiety, and it's real. We understand that that person can leave the room and leave us alone, and this anxiety sets in, and that usually goes away around age 2. And then we understand, I'm me, I'm separate from Chris, I'm separate from Janet, individual. So a deeper self-awareness would be to know that I know that I'm separate. I know that I'm separate from you. I know that I know. So radical self-awareness is to know, to be aware, that I have within me this conditioning, and that I have opinions and beliefs and ingrained, deeply rooted concepts that flavor every part of my life. And when I become aware of that, that is a deeper, a radical self-awareness. And the example that is given is I'm standing in front of a mirror, and let me be you. So when I say I, it's you. I'm standing in front of a mirror, and I go, I never noticed that wrinkle before. I think I'm looking older. Was my face always that round? Is that a new gray hair? Or do I have less hair? I start making judgments about what I see in the mirror. When I can stop myself and be an observer and say, where's that coming from? Why are you making that a negative? Look how long you've lived. Look how much your hair you do have. Who cares if it's gray? Once you are aware of the conditioning, that is a deeper, more radical sense of who you are and who you are not flavored by. Robert says, this practice is to be aware of my present moment experience and to be aware of my mental, emotional, and physical response to this experience, and to be aware that I'm aware of it. I know. It's easier to do than it is to talk about. It really is. It absolutely is. So we set the intention, of course, not 100% of the time, to start doing this. And as we get closer to the end of my lesson and the conclusion, we'll talk about how to take this out into the real world. But the practice is to differentiate between the basic experience of seeing, hearing, sensing, and the mind's response. We're paying attention to what those little messages that our mind is giving us to what we've seen, heard, and felt, and to separate that experience from the context that we're imprinting it based on our conditioning. Based on our conditioning. Now, I'm a visual learner. So for those of you who might also be visual learners, we have a diagram. This is the diagram of the psyche that was created by Charles Fillmore, co-founder of the Unity Movement. Now, we have our external world. Our external world is where we live. We have our 5 senses. We're dealing with gravity. We have health issues or good health issues. We've got a car that runs or one that doesn't. We have problems at work or not problems at work. We have a relationship. We have to figure out how to pay for food and rent and clothing. That's the external world. Now, the conscious mind is all that we are aware of, that we are thinking and feeling about any given experience. What we're thinking and feeling about the experience on this earthly planet. Then we have our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is nothing more than a library. And in that library are all these library cards with information that you've given it. Okay, your family's given it, the news has given it. Okay, the opinion of your best friend has given it. Some podcast you heard. It's filled with facts. It's filled with errors. It's filled with opinions, which may be your own and may not be your own. All of this is in the subconscious mind, and all it does is hold this catalog. And when you, in your conscious mind, about what you're thinking and feeling, think about a certain thought, you may be fed some information from that subconscious. It just feeds it right back to you. Just feeds it right back to you. Wrong or right, it feeds it back to you, and then you respond. What Charles Fillmore said was, what would it be like if rather than being informed by our subconscious, which is filled with facts and erroneous information, we relied on our superconscious. The superconscious being the ethers, God presence, universal mind, oneness, universal love, whatever you want to call that, all that is. What if in any given situation, at any time of the day, we allow that to inform us, to move through our subconscious to our conscious mind, to express in the external world? What might that be like? To live from the divine, from the inside out, rather than allow the external world to continue to impress upon us, and imprint upon us, and we just bring that right back out. 2 very different ways of living. And yet most of us are probably living both ways at different moments of our lives. When we're in meditation, we're allowing that superconscious to come right through. When I'm meditating on what I'm going to say on Sunday morning, asking Spirit to guide me and inspire being the word for the day, I'm open to that. At times when I'm at the checkout and I'm irritated with the person in front of me, I'm not coming from the superconscious, I guarantee. So we can see that there's 2 different ways to live our lives. Now think about the challenge that guy in the ancient Near East had, the ancient Middle East. He was coming from the superconscious. That's what he called Father. He was living from that space and trying to teach his disciples and all the people that were following him, who were living from the external world. And that's why it felt so foreign to them what he was saying, love your neighbor. And they're like, what? The neighbor that just reported me for something, or the tax collector that just took all my money, love your neighbor. He was coming from the superconscious, being with most people who were coming from the external world. What a challenge. And yet we can understand because we're drawn to his teachings. We're drawn to that way of being, and we want to be that way too. We want to be in the world, but not of the world. We have to be in the world. We have to deal with gravity. We have to deal with our vehicle and our career and the bills we have to pay, and breathing this wonderful air and seeing the beauty, tasting, smelling, touching, all of this. We're in the world, but we don't have to be informed by the world. We're actually told that in a few passages in the Bible, which is amazing, is it not? In John 17, even as I am not of this world, Jesus was trying to convey, you live in this world, but not of this world. You can live differently. And the Apostle Paul, when he wrote to the Romans, said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And that's what the superconscious mind does. That's what God, universal love, all that is. It renews and refreshes our minds so that we can live from that space, be informed by that as we maneuver through our human experience. And so as we take our love work from today and move it outward, there's really 3 steps to take. Very simple. The first is you decide in this moment, I'm going to try this out. Try to clear your mind so it can be as clear as possible, moving into that space. And then to simply become aware if anything is being fed to you from your subconscious. Anything being fed to you. And then if you're aware of it, release it. Don't judge, release it, and allow yourself to be informed by the divine. It sounds so simple, and I'm going to give you one short example. Many years ago, I had a relationship that ended really badly. And it was with a gentleman who had a shaved head. And he turned my world absolutely upside down for a while. And I didn't date for a long time. And then I met my husband, Denny. Y'all have met Denny. How much hair does he have? He has a shaved head. If I had met him closer to the time of trying to heal my world, I would have rejected him completely and run in the opposite direction. Because my subconscious mind would have said, uh-oh, shaved head, go the other way. Go the other way, quickly as possible. We all have those things within us to heal. And that's our job, is to heal those things so that we're not listening to the subconscious mind, except for the things about our safety, except for the things that we learned that's good for us. Dark sky, probably rain, take your umbrella. There's a lot of good stuff in there, okay? But there's also a lot of stuff that does not apply, is not real. And so this week, I ask you to set a time. Maybe it's first thing in the morning when you're brushing your teeth and you're brushing your hair. Usually it's kind of a quiet time. Maybe you're by yourself then, or you're having your first cup of tea or first cup of coffee. And just ask yourself, what's going on right now? How am I feeling? What am I thinking about the day? Can I set the intention to come from a clear space to recognize even once or twice during the day when I'm having something from my subconscious that is incorrect affecting my world, and then choose differently. Start with first thing in the morning. Our goal is to do it more, but we have to have a starting place, and so that's where we start. And to be able to see this world not as a place to fear or to survive, but a field for our creative expression. For you are all beautiful, creative expressions of the divine. And I will be on that field with you, doing the same thing, practicing our love work. And then I will see you next week as we go into that deep, deep self-appreciation. And so we prepare now for our time of meditation. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Or if not, just gaze softly at something before you. Allow yourself to relax into the seat, maybe lift your shoulders and your chin ever so much, just opening up that heart space as you allow these words to just feed your soul as you move into this music.
Everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now.
Get ready, my soul. Get ready. For I hold within me the desire to go deeper, to love more, to see more clearly my way in this world. I invite you to breathe those words in, to allow them to imprint upon your soul. And then allow the words I speak to be the words of your own heart, your own mind, and release anything that does not fit for you gently. Get ready, my soul. I recognize that within me is all the wisdom, all the love, understanding, and compassion that I will ever need. Get ready, my soul. As I hold this intention to rely on those divine attributes more than ever before. Get ready, my soul. For I know within me are these beautiful spiritual expressions of the divine, wanting to be released and expressed into this world as me, through me, in all the ways that I think and speak and do. Get ready, my soul. As I prepare my heart and my mind for a new day and a new way of being, as I move now, holding this intention in the silence, Get ready, my soul, for this excites and delights me. I know that I will be inspired to express in new ways. I have faith, not only in the divine, but with my own inner truth. And now we prepare gently to relax into this space and to embrace these words, delighted by the truth that they speak, delighted to be inspired by the words.
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. 'Cause here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. And here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. And here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get